Powerful stories that change the way you think. Impactful investigations that change the way you see.
How many times has your car been stolen?
5 times.
Yeah. What? Do you think that you're a responsible owner of tigers?
I damn sure do.
Heartwarming moments that change the way you feel.
I feel amazing.
Now available in a place that changes the way you watch TV. Inside Edition, streaming.
It's a race against the clock. Inside that massive hole is a girl buried up to her chest in the sand. The dramatic rescue is unfolding on Mission Beach in San Diego. 20 firefighters and lifeguards are digging, trying to free the 16-year-old.
A female about 6 feet into the sand hole on the beach.
Good Samaritan Richard Meston, a former lifeguard, was there to help.
I saw a life-threatening situation because she was up to her chest level.
Witnesses say the girl was digging in the sand with friends when she fell into the giant hole and couldn't get out. Another worry, high tide was coming in, and soon the hole would be underwater.
Her head level was 6 feet down. That's where her head started, so her body's underneath that.
And she was unable to move.
Unable to move.
Fire Captain Maureen Hodges explains how the teen found herself in such danger.
A group of teenagers, they dug a hole. It was probably somewhere between 8 and 10 feet deep. As her friends tried to get her out of the hole, their body weight on the edges started to collapse the sand, the edges around her.
After 30 excruciatingly long minutes, success. The girl is free and safe. It's reminding many of the beach horror that unfolded earlier this year that claimed the life of a 7-year-old girl.
There is a little girl buried under the sand and they have not gotten to her yet.
Sloan Mattingly was with her brother Maddox when the 5-foot hole they had dug collapsed on top of them. Her 9-year-old brother was pulled out alive. Sloan was suffocated by the sand. Their parents spoke out on GMA.
It didn't matter that we were literally right there. It was just a hole and there's nothing. And then it just became chaos and horror.
Fortunately, this latest rescue has a happy ending.
Is he heads up?
He's okay. He was standing up. He's head up.
A toddler cried for help after falling 12 feet down a PVC pipe. First responders tried to come up with a plan to get 14-month-old Bentley out of the hole quickly and safely. His parents could only watch helplessly as their child screamed. The Mound Ridge Police Department in Kansas says the pipe was just 12 inches in diameter. One officer had an idea.
We're going to try to make a catch pole kind of rig here. See if you can't get that around his shoulders or something.
The makeshift catch pole included a pipe long and narrow enough to go down the hole and a rope to wrap around the child. Within 20 minutes, Bentley was being pulled to safety.
There we go.
Bentley was taken to the hospital for a checkup, but he was unharmed, although still traumatized. A scary situation resolved quickly thanks to fast-acting first responders.
A teenager was stuck in the mud and firefighters were called to help rescue him. This was the scene in Alameda, California. It happened around lunchtime. Footage of the rescue operation was captured by one of the firefighters in an inflatable rescue boat. The 14-year-old was swimming in the water and got stuck in the mud as the tide was rising. Firefighters describe it to act similar to quicksand. Water was up to his neck. First responders used a hose line from one of the fire engines to mine out some of the mud, as rescue swimmers took turns going underwater to dig the teen's feet out. Most of the water in this area was a shallow, muddy shelf that extends into the bay. The teen was safely removed from the water after about 20 minutes and taken to the hospital as a precaution. A teenager is trapped inside a burning car after he crashed into a tree. Lone Peak, Utah police officer Austin Williams tries to pry open the door, but it's jammed, so he breaks open a window in hopes of pulling him out.
His repeated plea was just to help him, and he was yelling, "Get me out, help me, help me."
But it's too hot and intense for the officer to continue, so he's forced to wait for backup to arrive.
That was the most heart-wrenching, was when he was screaming and looking at me, yelling at me to help him, and I just had to watch. And a fellow human being in that much pain and suffering, and wishing that I could do something, and him looking to me as the person to save him and not be able to.
After a break from the heat, he tries again.
I think your natural response when fire is burning you is you have to back up. But as soon as we could re-engage, we did, and then the fire extinguishers bought us more time. So I think that was the hardest thing, was to stand back and just think that he's calling out for help and I can't do anything about it.
Officer Zach Goodale with the American Fort Police Department was the officer to arrive next with a fire extinguisher, but they still can't get him out. As more officers arrive, they grab a rope and attach it to a patrol car.
I didn't know what the plan was with the rope, so I just saw him hooking it up to it, so I just grabbed onto it, and then a couple of us followed suit and gave it a good yank, and the door actually just popped open, so that's when we were able to dive in there and actually get him out of the vehicle.
Officer Williams was off duty at the time and on his way home from his shift when he says the 17-year-old was speeding 60 miles an hour on a 30-mile-an-hour road. The teen loses control, sending the car into a tree. It took a total of 5 minutes and 15 seconds to get him out.
I just felt a sigh of relief. When we actually removed him from the vehicle, it was a very elating feeling, and it wasn't like a heroic, like I'm so proud of myself moment. It was just so happy to see someone who was in so much pain to be free from that.
The teen's family shared a statement read by the police chief.
Today is a good day and things are looking up. We're at the point where we can worry about the more trivial things surrounding the accident. We would like to communicate our thanks and gratitude directly to those individuals who have helped to this point with a big exclamation of thank you.
The teen has since had multiple surgeries after suffering burns on 20% of his body, mostly his back. He is expected to recover.
Oh my God. Donnie, stand up.
Little Donnie got himself into a pickle. Actually, a pineapple-themed stool from Michael's. His mom, Ebony Chappell, says her 3-year-old really stumped her by getting stuck in this piece of decor.
So my first response when I walked in the kitchen and saw him in there, I was just going to take a picture to send to my mom and to post on Facebook because I thought he was just being Donnie and he had just got inside. But after I took the picture and I started the video, I started to go ahead and take him out, and he wasn't, like, the top half of him would come out, but that's it.
She says other family members tried their hand at freeing Donnie, but to no avail. That's when they decided to call 911 for backup.
I think it was the fire chief. I saw him first, and he came over and sat down with Donnie, and he was like, put your hands over your head. And Donnie doesn't listen. But this one time, he stuck his hands up, and he still wasn't going anywhere. They went out and there were some kind of scissors, and those didn't work.
Ebony says she didn't capture the moment Donnie was sprung from the container, but she says he just started running around the house like nothing happened. She says life with Donnie has been an adventure since he was born in the hospital's elevator.
I should have known, just his whole birth, I should have known that he was going to be the extra one.
Keeping the whole family and first responders on their toes.
Little boy lost and found. This 4-year-old is alive after going missing for 22 hours in a dense forest. Young Christian Ramirez enjoys a sandwich after being found huddled under a tree near Huntington Lake in Central California. His father couldn't be happier.
We really believe that we saw a modern-day miracle.
Imagine how scared little Christian must have been out there alone in the dark. The forest is home to snakes, coyotes, and mountain lions. His father holds him tight after they're reunited.
That was the best day of my life, to get my little boy back and for him to be able to hug us back.
50 sheriff's deputies and volunteers searched through the night, finding little Christian just after 8 a.m., a quarter mile from the family campsite.
Thankfully, the boy is in good condition today. In thickly wooded areas, it's easy to quickly become disoriented and lose your way. Even experienced hikers can find themselves hopelessly lost for days.
Hey, thank you.
You're okay.
Maverick?
2 children were saved from a burning home in Texas.
Is everybody out?
Body camera video from the Vidor Police Department shows officers responding to a call just before 2 in the morning. Officers found the home engulfed in flames. The children's mother directed police.
Is everybody out? Where at?
Right here.
I didn't sleep.
A window air conditioning unit was dislodged, giving officers access to the room where the children were. Officials say the 7- and 9-year-old were treated for smoke inhalation at a hospital. Both have been released.
Hey, thank you. You're okay. Maverick?
There were hugs and tears of relief when a man who was missing for almost a week was found.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. We're just so happy.
California's Placer County Sheriff's Office says up to 100 people, representing 10 different law enforcement agencies, were searching for Warren Elliott daily. Mr. Elliott says he went for a walk from his camping site in Rubicon Springs on July 19th, only to go in the wrong direction. The 70-year-old says he drank water from the river and found a handful of berries to eat over his ordeal. It was a 9-mile journey from the point where he was last seen to the location where Elliott was found 6 days later, though officials believe he wandered farther than that as he tried to find his way back to the campsite. A California Highway Patrol helicopter airlifted Elliott to safety. Despite the lack of food and shelter, Elliott was not hurt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. We're just so happy.
It's a nightmare at a quiet neighborhood park. Cops say this kidnapper grabs a 7-year-old off her bike. Then he carries her to his car and throws her in.
The girl's aunt immediately went into warrior mode. She ran after the suspect, dove through the window of the driver's side of his car, and wrestled with the suspect as he tried to drive off with the youngster.
A Good Samaritan saw the abduction and pulled in front of the car, blocking the accused kidnapper's getaway. Then he hauls him out of the car until the cops get there.
He was like an angel. He'd get out of the car, get out of the car, get out right now.
I spoke to the little girl's hero aunt, Alicia Swikowski, who was injured in the struggle.
When I hear that story, it just sounds terrifying.
It was literally my worst nightmare, and it just keeps replaying in my head over and over and over again. That's all I could think about was getting her out of that car.
Scott Van Leuven is the Good Samaritan who blocked the getaway car.
I honestly don't even want to know what could have happened. He could have gotten away very easily.
The 23-year-old suspect was identified as Andy Bala. Court records show he has a history of prior arrests. Get this, just an hour before allegedly snatching the 7-year-old, cops say he also tried to grab a 15-year-old girl. That kidnap was also foiled by a Good Samaritan. Good neighbors who risked it all when it really mattered.
Bala, who has pled not guilty, has been ordered to undergo a mental health evaluation.
A bear, seen with an old metal milk can around its neck, has finally been set free. The Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department was called in to help by a concerned citizen who believed the bear was in distress. Neighbors say this bear had been spotted with the metal around its neck for several weeks. But freeing the large animal, estimated to be around 250 pounds, was no easy task. The team set up a humane trap in order to capture the bear without injuring it. Once caught, the bear was tranquilized.
Here, if you grab some pliers maybe.
While the bear was under sedation, the team worked to cut the metal circle from around the animal's neck.
Hold. Is it in him? Hold on. I think it's stuck in the hair. Right, it's coming back. Oh, yeah. All right. That's one for the museum.
Once free, the bear ran off into the woods after it woke up from its medically induced nap. The Fish and Wildlife Department doesn't know where the milk can came from, but believes the food-driven bear got caught while being curious.
A young mom is desperate. She's banging away at the window of her Tesla because her 13-month-old son is trapped inside.
I thought I was going to take my baby out of there lifeless.
Cassandra Pineda was charging her electric car at a Tesla supercharger station in Los Angeles. She says when she finished, the car suddenly locked on its own, trapping her toddler Liam. It was a scorching 109 degrees outside. The danger was obvious. the car could turn into an oven inside in a matter of minutes.
I even tried breaking that. I just wanted to cut that car in half.
Nothing she did or used worked. Cassandra was screaming for help when a good Samaritan came to her aid. After a lot of pounding with a fishing weight, he was able to bash in the window. Little Liam was scared and drenched with perspiration, but alive.
What do you want to say to that good Samaritan who helped you and saved your baby?
Oh, I just want to thank him from the bottom of my heart. If it wasn't for him, I don't know what would have happened with my son.
This is not the first time a Tesla has apparently locked on its own. A similar occurrence happened to a grandmother in Arizona 4 months ago when she put her granddaughter in the back seat of her Tesla.
Went to open my door and my car would not open. I could not get in and my granddaughter was trapped.
Firefighters were able to break the window and free her granddaughter. Cassandra Pineda says she took her Tesla for service to find out what went wrong. She claims that footage of the incident was missing after the car was serviced.
So with that car video missing, how were we able to show it in this report? Well, it's because Cassandra says that she filmed it off the screen in her car with her phone. Tesla did not return our calls for comment.
Uh-oh, did someone break into a parked car? Never mind someone, it was two bears, and boy did they go wild. Just look at the damage left behind. The inside is destroyed. A second cub, appearing to be in distress, ran around outside the car. Animal experts believe the bear got inside using the door, but are still uncertain about how they were able to shut the door closed behind them.
It's the jarring screech of out-of-control car tires. Then this happens. The speeding minivan barrels into two parked vehicles in Brooklyn, flipping on its side and pinning the driver inside. One by one, neighbors emerge from their homes to see what's going on. Working as a team, the neighborhood heroes shove with all their might to free the trapped driver. All together now. Success. The van is back up on four wheels and the driver is rescued. Eudice James joined in.
Everybody just got together and then basically left the vehicle.
Cops say the minivan driver was drunk. He's accused of hitting a mom and her 3-year-old daughter in a stroller just minutes before ramming into the parked cars. It's the moment a 7-year-old girl is rescued.
I've got you, hon. I'm not going to drop you.
She was missing for 12 hours after disappearing from a campsite.
I'm going to help you down to the deputy. Okay? Slide on your butt, okay?
You can see Shelby Wolf all muddy. She's wearing hot pink Crocs as they bring her to safety. Shelby had been staying with her grandparents at Lake Merwin campgrounds in Washington State. The second grader apparently wandered off at 8:30 at night.
They were playing a game and walked away, and I think she just got kind of lost to the point maybe where she couldn't find her way back.
Authorities were immediately alerted that the little girl was missing, and deputies, along with volunteers, began the all-night search effort. Then, at daybreak, somebody heard Shelby's cries and called 911. Deputies found her on steep terrain that was covered in thick vegetation and sharp rocks. They had to climb up the hillside on their hands and knees to reach her, holding onto tree limbs to avoid falling.
You can stand right there, okay?
Rescuers passed her from one to another like a human chain. They reassured her she's going to be okay.
You cold? Yeah, I got a blanket here for you. Just set her right there on that and she'll be good to go. Grab my hand. There you go.
They put her on a small boat and she was taken to a dock and reunited with her family. Shelby's older sister posted video expressing gratitude. Thank you to all who reached out as well as prayed for my family and I during this time. Love you all.
A child was pulled from the tracks mere seconds before a train sped through a station. CCTV footage released by the London North Eastern Railway shows a woman walking with one child, followed by another small child, who seemingly jogs to catch up. The child slows down and comes to a stop on the platform. They get on their knees and start to crawl backward, slipping off the raised platform onto the train tracks below. A few people run towards the action, but one man took the leap down to where the child was dangerously close to the rails. He lifts the child up and places him near the adult the child traveled with. Then, like a humble hero, the man climbs up from the tracks and walks away. Only 13 seconds after both the man and the fallen child were off of the tracks, a Grand Central Rail train sped by. Due to a selfless person being at the right place at the right time, authorities say this incident only resulted in minor injuries.
This is not an action movie. This is really happening. A driver in medical distress runs into a curb, then veers into another lane of traffic. At first, deputies responding to the scene think it's a reckless or maybe drunk driver. Then they pull up next to the vehicle in Macomb County, Michigan.
He was in a daze. He didn't seem to react to anything we were doing. None of the sirens, none of the lights.
You can see the sheriff's deputy's shadow as she's reaching for the door. She's even trying to use a window punch to break the backseat glass. With the sirens blaring, you can hear her yell instructions. What a dilemma. How do you stop a moving vehicle when it's headed right into a busy intersection? What happened next was remarkable. The deputy decided the only way to stop the runaway truck was to leap from her patrol car and climb through the window.
I kind of looked at my partner. I said, listen, I got to get through the window. I got to jump over to the vehicle.
Her partner pulled up to just 6 inches away when Deputy Sheriff Nicole Myron climbs out, makes her way over the driver, and gets right into the GMC Sierra.
Luckily, I'm very small, so I was able to clear the window. Honestly, he was still out of it. Where's your car?
She quickly put the car in park, then she turned off the ignition. By then, the 63-year-old driver was a little more alert.
You good?
You've only ever seen this kind of car-to-car action in movies like The Fast and the Furious. But this was no stunt, and it may have saved a man's life.
You good? You okay?
Now more nail-biting video as cops are desperate to find a little boy who wandered from his home. Then they realize he's in a pond.
Deputies run through the woods, frantically searching for a missing boy whose family had called 911.
Everybody's trying to help us right now.
The boy had wandered away from his home in Deltona, Florida. Cops fear the worst as they race towards a pond. Suddenly, they hear a cry for help.
Hey, he's out here somewhere.
There he is, hanging onto a log in the middle of the pond.
Hey, I got him.
The deputy jumps into the water to save the boy, grabs him, and brings him to safety. And here's that hero deputy, Wes Bruff, today.
I have a 5-year-old boy. He's the same age, same size as him. So when I picked him up out of the water and he was holding on to me tightly, it felt like I was holding on to one of my kids.
Now, nail-biting video of an 8-year-old boy who passed out after choking on a hard candy. Cops rushed to the scene armed with the LifeVac device that we've told you about that has saved so many lives. Thankfully, it works this time, too.
This little boy is not breathing. He is seconds from death.
Hey, buddy. You okay? You okay?
8-year-old Ethan Conte was choking on a piece of hard candy while playing with friends.
Did he spit out the candy?
It was a race against time to keep him alive.
I just couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe that he was not breathing.
El Monte, California police officer Raul Vega was first on the scene.
When I ran over, I saw poor Ethan laying on his back. I could see that he was not breathing and his eyes were open and he needed help.
The officer picked him up and rushed him to get a life-saving device called LifeVac out of the patrol car.
Get the LifeVac!
The LifeVac is designed to clear the airways. It looks like a bathroom plunger.
Place it over the mouth, form a good seal, and when you make the thrusting motions up and down, the pressure removes the obstruction.
Go again. He's breathing. Go again.
There are signs of breathing, but he's not out of the woods just yet. They need a larger model LifeVac. Finally, they're confident he's going to be okay.
Is he breathing? He's conscious. He's breathing.
That was like the breath that everyone is looking for.
And here's little Ethan today getting a kiss from his mom. He remembers exactly what happened that day.
I was eating candy and then I choked and went.
And Inside Edition is there for the happy reunion with Officer Vega. And Mom can't thank him enough.
They're heroic for sure, because I was just, rethinking what would have happened if they didn't have that device with them.
He's breathing.
So glad he's okay. According to LifeVac, more than 100 lives have been saved thanks to stories Inside Edition has aired about the device.
A 10-year-old girl is curled up in the woods. Is she sleeping? Or has something terrible happened to her? Little Peyton has a history of sleepwalking, but never like this. Authorities say she wandered away from her home, apparently in the throes of a sleepwalking episode. What followed was a desperate search involving law enforcement and dozens of volunteers. All they had to go on was this haunting image of Peyton in her pajamas, taken from a trail camera set up by hunters. Josh Klober was at his home in Arkansas when he heard the breaking news about the missing girl. A drone pilot, he packed up his gear and raced to Louisiana. And it wasn't just any drone. Klober's drone is equipped with a thermal imaging camera.
It's obviously at night and we're looking for heat.
It took just 30 minutes before he spotted something. It was Peyton. He zoomed in. There she was. Look, her shoe is missing. But was she okay?
A lot of clapping, and then it got quiet all of a sudden, kind of eerie silence. And then I looked at the screen, she wasn't moving. Some pretty bad thoughts kind of run through your mind.
Then she awakens.
She's awake! Yeah! Yeah, it was pretty emotional for everybody.
From the back of his pickup truck where he was piloting the drone, Klober directed rescuers to Peyton's location.
I had the spotlight on her, obviously, and I kept the spotlight on her so the authorities could find their way in. They could just look up, see the drone, and then see where the spotlight was pointing.
You can see a family friend lift the youngster into his arms. He carries her through the woods to a police car. Someone gives her a bottle of water. She told her rescuers she was hungry. Klober believes she had been sleeping for hours.
The reason I could tell she'd been there a while is around her feet. There were some leaves there, and you could tell that it was bare dirt, so she was probably moving her feet around while she was sleeping.
Sleeping Beauty, awake at last.
She's awake! Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad we found you.
An elderly Michigan woman went missing. She was found in knee-deep water.
14, I hear her radio. She's standing in the creek.
Westland police say they were called by the woman's husband. He told the department that his wife was last seen in their backyard and had been missing for over 5 hours. About 2 hours before the husband's call came in, local residents told police there was a suspicious female in the woods who matched the description of the missing person. It was long after nightfall when officers carefully combed the wooded area. She was spotted in a creek, standing in knee-deep water.
She's standing in the creek. Come this way, ma'am.
Standing in the creek.
Come this way.
The woman appeared to be confused.
You got shoes on?
No.
Oh my goodness.
No shoes.
Police say she was soaking wet and shaking from what was likely the onset of hypothermia. She was taken to a hospital for treatment.
Great success. Hey, dude.
When a kitten in California needed saving, Orange County Fire Authorities stepped in for the unusual task. Firefighters were called in when a resident heard the kitten meowing and discovered it was stuck in a spare tire. Station 86 staff tried using Dawn soap to ease the little guy out, but wasn't successful. So they called another crew that had the proper tools. They used a large spoon to protect the cat's body and water to keep the area cool. Then, with the reciprocating saw, the kitten was freed.
Great success. Hey, dude!
After some photo ops, a bath, and praise, the unharmed kitten went home with the resident. Saving animals has been the organization's beat as of late. They recently assisted when a 20-year-old horse named Katana fell and was able to stand on its own. Their quick-thinking skills and teamwork helped Katana go home unharmed.
Here's something electric car owners might not be aware of. If the battery dies with the doors locked and you're inside, you could be trapped. Les Trent has a simple way to get out that all EV owners should know.
I spoke to Renee Sanchez, whose granddaughter was locked inside her Tesla after she says the car battery ran out of juice.
I put her in the back seat, in her car seat, strapped her in, went to open my door, and my car would not open. I could not get in, and my granddaughter was trapped.
So you had no warning at all that your battery apparently had died?
No.
She urgently called 911 and fears what could have happened if firefighters hadn't broken open the window and safely removed the little girl.
I live in Arizona, and we're going to hit 114 today, and it doesn't take very long to suffocate.
So what should people do if their battery fails in an electric vehicle and their doors won't open? It turns out in most cases there is a simple solution. Car expert Vlad Fayer shows me that inside a Tesla there's a hidden latch that will manually open the door when it's locked shut.
And you just pull this handle up and it'll unlock the door.
If you didn't know what this was for, you wouldn't even think about that being a release.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden.
He says the placement of the hidden latches varies in different electric vehicles. As for this grandmother, she says she will keep her driver's side door wide open when fastening her granddaughter's car seat, so this never happens again.
It's a medical emergency at the gym. He's collapsed in the lobby and is not breathing. He's unconscious. He has no pulse. Staffers are administering CPR. You can hear them rhythmically counting as a deputy sheriff arrives.
15, 16, 17, 18.
How long have you been down for?
15 cycles of CPR. 18, 19, 20.
Okay, let me take over.
They knew exactly what to do to save the 74-year-old gym goer's life. As they were performing CPR, they also connected him to a defibrillator, all while rigorously performing chest compressions to get his heart pumping again. The deputy steps in to take over another round of chest compressions.
Check for a pulse.
You here, sir?
I don't feel a pulse.
No, hold on.
Analysis will reveal.
This is all agonal.
Is he breathing?
No.
The situation is dire. Suddenly, a miracle.
Can you hear me?
Until analysis will reveal.
Oh, here's the stop button.
He's breathing. We got him breathing.
Personal trainer Tim Velasquez from Trails Recreation Center in Centennial, Colorado, was one of the heroes.
I wanted to make sure that I'm doing the best I can to save somebody else's life and to make sure they're able to go home to their kids or to their grandkids. So that was on my mind.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You may want to get out of the way. This wild video shows a dust devil blowing beach umbrellas into the air. It happened at the Blue Mountain Beach on Florida's Emerald Coast. There was lots of screaming, but thankfully no one was hurt. Officials are pushing for new guidelines for umbrella manufacturers to ensure they can withstand winds of up to 30 miles per hour.
Talk about paying it forward. A man who was once rescued from a fire is being called a hero for doing the same thing for someone else. Amber Cagliano has that story.
Oh my God.
It's a daring rescue from a burning car.
Is there people inside? Oh my God.
This driver pulled over when he saw a car aflame in Tacoma, Washington.
Your car is burning!
Another Good Samaritan tries to punch the windows out with his bare fists. Then they look for a stone to break in the window. More Good Samaritans join in. They grab a fence post and really go at it. Just as they yank the door open, the rescuers bravely pull the motorist out of the wreckage.
I saved his life. I saved his life.
And here's the hero who used that fence post to break in the window, Mohammed Malkawi.
A lot of people would run from this kind of danger, and you ran towards it. Why?
I had the same experience before.
That's right. When he was 6 years old, he made the mistake of pouring paint thinner on a fire.
I burned my whole body.
You can still see the scars.
I just thought about one thing. It's saving this man's life.
I saved his life. I saved his life.
It's a lovely holiday afternoon in the backyard. The kids are frolicking in the pool, the adults relaxing.
Enjoying Memorial Day. You having fun?
There's 2-year-old Mila. She's wearing floaties and having a great time. At some point, her parents take her out of the pool. The floaties come off, But somehow, Mila makes it back into the water. A nightmare is about to unfold. Mila's big sister screams when she discovers her face down. Dad Matthew Shortridge instantly makes a flying leap into the pool.
Well, when I jumped in the pool, I turned her over, and that's when I noticed she was completely blue-gray.
What went through your mind?
I thought, dear God, my baby is dead.
How lucky that Matthew is a nurse and knew just what to do. It so happens that a friend at the pool is a trauma nurse. What are the odds? 2 nurses.
My training kicked in. I started mouth to mouth. And then my friend, she's a nurse, she came down immediately at the same time. She began chest compressions on my daughter.
Gaston County 911. It fell in the pool. The baby fell in the pool.
Mila's mom hears the screams and runs out of the house. She rushes to her daughter, then gets down on her knees, arms raised, and prays.
I saw my little baby Mila, who was completely lifeless at the time, not breathing. It was just a heart-wrenching feeling.
Suddenly, the 2-year-old begins to breathe.
When she began to cry, I knew that she was okay.
Dad carries her out of the pool.
You feel her heart on my chest. It was wonderful. Then I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Daddy." And I knew at that moment, I just knew then, she's okay.
It's a miracle, and everyone knows it. One friend throws his arms into the air, and there she is, little Mila, wrapped in a blanket, alert, as they wait for paramedics in Gaston County, North Carolina. She spent the night in a local hospital for an evaluation.
Say cheese. This is our Mila, and she has made a full recovery, and we are so thankful and blessed.
Now, as summer begins, her parents want to get the word out. Stay alert to what happens in the pool.
Talk about a close call. John DeBacker from Long Island Cat Kitten Solution had a scary rescue on the Wantagh State Parkway during morning traffic. He got a call about a kitten spotted along the center divider. When he got there, he didn't see her at first and looped around to look again. For safety and backup, John called New York State Police, who halted traffic for him. As he got closer, the kitten tried to bolt, and she was quick. John stuck with it and eventually captured the cute but feisty feline. The injured kitten was taken to Last Hope Animal Rescue and Rehabilitation. They named her Wanda, and when Wanda is all better, she will be put up for adoption.
Mayhem as a mob on bikes go after a driver. He's repeatedly punched and kicked.
Oh my God, bro.
But look, one brave young woman steps in to rescue him, all alone, as she leads him to safety. She even confronts the thugs, telling them to go home. Floored by her courage, they melt away. You can see the victim limping, helpless, as his car was ransacked.
These are kids. None of them are older than 20.
The out-of-control mob smashed the windshield and dented the hood. The chaos erupted as the driver tried to pass the cyclists, who he says were blocking an intersection. Someone threw a bottle at his car. He got out to check for damage, and that's when he says all hell broke loose, and he was attacked by a mob. The hero who stepped up is 26-year-old Jeanette Garcia. She told me how she disarmed a suspect who was about to bludgeon the driver.
It was a big metal tool. He was actually going towards him to hit him with that. I was able to snatch it.
You're 5'2", you must weigh 110 pounds, dripping wet. I mean, and you go into the danger to try to save this total stranger.
I didn't have no time to think. I just wanted to get him out.
The victim is 29-year-old Heimlich, an asylum seeker from Kyrgyzstan. He returned to the scene of the attack on crutches to thank Jeanette for saving his life.
Thank you so much.
I'm happy to see that you're doing well.
What do you want to say to her?
Oh my gosh, she's really an angel.
It's a dramatic rescue. This guy is using his body to shield his girlfriend. She's suffering from severe dehydration after hiking in soaring temperatures. The emergency responders are airlifting them to safety.
You
got handles right here. Hold on to those handles.
The boyfriend is hoisted up first. His girlfriend appears to be barely conscious.
Gotcha.
It's 95 degrees. The boyfriend says they ran out of water during their hike, 20 minutes outside of California's Joshua Tree National Park, where this weekend temperatures could climb as high as 108 degrees. The air rescue unit guides the critically ill woman into the chopper, and her boyfriend dabs water on her face. Emergency responders administer oxygen.
People go out on hikes and they don't understand that it takes just a short amount of time to become dehydrated. You always got to be drinking.
If you didn't get to this pair when you did, is there any question that one or both of them could have died?
She was pretty dehydrated. She was very hot to the touch. There's a good chance that one or both of them could have died.
Now comes this dire warning from the National Weather Service. A dangerous and potentially record-setting heat wave will spread across much of the central and eastern U.S. next week. That will put people who aren't prepared at high risk of heat stress. A staggering 2,302 people suffered heat-related deaths in the USA just last summer, the highest in 45 years. ER Dr. Ali Jamador warns, learn to recognize the signs of dehydration and heat stress quickly.
From heat exhaustion to heat stroke is a very short amount of time. And if you can do that and you can recognize the signs of your breathing faster, you're profusely sweating, your temperature is rising, you're starting to get a little bit of a headache, you got to get yourself out of that situation into a covered, cool area.
As for hiking, he says go out in the early morning when it's cooler and always bring extra water so this doesn't happen to you. A hiking excursion turns into a nightmare. He's fallen down this narrow crevasse and can't get out.
I thought the worst. I kind of started saying my goodbyes in my head.
25-year-old Logan Moore was traveling across Europe with his cousin and several other friends. But disaster struck when they arrived in Switzerland to enjoy the beautiful mountain landscape. Logan had just finished recording this video when he slipped on the wet, moss-covered edge. He plunged headfirst into the crevasse.
I just saw his feet just slowly disappear until he was gone.
They called 112, the European equivalent of 911. When a chopper got there, a team of rescuers was lowered to the remote location. The first responder rappelled down to give Logan painkillers and to be at his side for the tricky rescue. Then they started hauling him up the crevasse. Little by little, Logan is raised. Finally, he's out, bloody and battered.
Hey, bravo! Bravo!
The rescuers tend to his injuries, including cuts and broken bones. Then he's medevaced out. He's now back in the good old USA. We spoke to him in a hospital outside Phoenix.
So they had to go in there and surgically repair the humerus, the ball and joint of the shoulder, and the rotator cuff.
I'm just glad he's alive.
Hey, bravo! Bravo!
He was lost in the wilderness for nearly 6 days, surviving on only berries. And where he was found pretty much sums things up, the Hellhole Reservoir.
It's a desperate search in the wilderness for an elderly man missing 5 days. Warren Elliott disappeared while helping set up for the annual Jeep Jamboree, where daredevils traverse steep granite rocks in Placer County, California. Look how scary. Just imagine driving your vehicle down this rocky trail with precarious cliffs on one side. Warren Elliott's son says his dad was clearing the trail with other volunteers when he wandered off for a walk and didn't return.
When he wasn't there by dark is when I went looking for him, and nobody in camp had seen or heard from him.
His sister Alexis feared the worst.
He said, Dad's missing, and so I broke down in the middle of the parking lot.
CHP flight officer Brandon Hallam was on the search.
Typically on these searches, when they go more than a couple of days, we expect the worst. And after 5 days, we assume that as well.
Aerial footage shows the difficulty of searching for a hiker in this terrain. Amazingly, after being lost for 5 days, Warren Elliott is found. Arriving to the sound of cheers and wearing tattered clothes, the 71-year-old looks exhausted but grateful as he's reunited with his 2 sons and daughter for a long emotional embrace.
Thank you. Thank you.
I returned to the forest with the survivor. Warren had no supplies at all. He would drink from a nearby river, but for nearly a week, his only source of food were handfuls of gooseberries. These gooseberries are the prickly variety, impossible for me to pluck.
How do you do that?
But Warren, who as a boy grew up here, knows how to handle the thorny fruit.
Just jelly in there.
Somehow the tiny bit of jelly sustained him for 5 days. He also showed me his ripped shirt and jeans from his ordeal.
So that's from sliding down rocks. That's how you were getting from uphill to downhill.
On his third day, Warren says he saw a helicopter above, but the crew didn't see him.
I was up on a big boulder waving my shirt.
2 days later, he reached a reservoir known as Hellhole and spotted a fisherman.
And I keep waving and waving, and finally he waved.
The fisherman radioed for help.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Now the grateful hiker is thanking the search and rescuers who delivered him to safety after 5 long days.
We tell anyone who gets lost, the old adage is hug a tree, right? And so that, by that we mean stay where you are, because eventually someone will come across you.
For him to be in such good shape and be found 5 days later is really incredible.
FedEx says its drivers average between 150 and 175 stops per day. And one stop for this FedEx driver could have been his last, if not for a couple of good Samaritans who knew what to do. He dropped his packages and then nearly dropped dead from a heart attack.
You're about to watch a routine FedEx delivery turn into a nightmare as the driver drops off some packages.
Oh, are you okay?
He suddenly collapses. The stunned homeowner comes to his aid. A neighbor across the street also sees what's happening and runs over to help. They start CPR and call 911. Then first responders in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania arrive and take over.
How long do you guys do a chest compression?
Maybe a minute.
They place the stricken FedEx driver on a gurney and rush him to the hospital. The diagnosis? Cardiac arrest. So, did he make it? He sure did.
How you doing,
I am
man?
the FedEx guy.
This exclusive video shows 43-year-old Adonis Whitner being reunited for the first time with the 2 strangers who saved his life.
My girlfriend calls them my angels in disguise.
Mark McCullough says he will never forget that awful moment Adonis collapsed at his doorstep.
I called 911, as panicked as I might have been, right? I was doing my best to feed them information.
Devlin Robinson, a state senator, had just pulled into his driveway when he saw his neighbor dealing with the crisis.
I dropped everything, ran across the street, and I saw Adonis laying there, not breathing.
Adonis's recovery is so amazing. The 3 men were able to joke about getting back together.
I was expecting him to bring a package.
Adonis says he remembers nothing about his collapse. His reaction to seeing that video?
Kind of shocked, like, that happened to me? Like, that was me? And then looking really close, like, yeah, that's me.
Oh, are you okay?
Adonis Whitner's doctors want to implant a defibrillator in his chest. He set up a GoFundMe account to help pay for those bills. For more information about that, just go over to InsideEdition.com.
Powerful stories that change the way you think. Impactful investigations that change the way you see.
How many times has your car been stolen?
5 times.
Yeah. What? Do you think that you're a responsible owner of tigers?
I damn sure do. Heartwarming moments that change the way you feel.
I feel amazing.
Now available in a place that changes the way you watch TV. Inside Edition, streaming.
That's a good boy.
Good job! This canine knew the task at hand when he was called to help locate a missing 12-year-old.
Nugget boy.
The deputy with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office in Georgia gets his partner Shax out of the patrol car and attaches a leash. Then the bloodhound sets off looking for the missing kid. They check the backyard, by the pool, and eventually head into the woods.
What's your name?
That's when they find the child.
That's a good boy. He just wants to sniff you because he was looking for you.
The deputies escort the 12-year-old out of the woods. Shax is then celebrated by the deputy for a job well done.
Boy, that's my good boy. Yeah, that's a good boy. Can you hold this for me?
Careful! It's the delicate rescue of a tiny, precious kitten trapped inside a recliner chair. Okay. The poor thing somehow got stuck.
What's going on?
My cat got stuck in the couch.
This Alliance, Ohio police officer was on patrol when the 911 call came in. And oddly enough, the kitten wasn't in its usual spot, say a tree. When first responders arrived to free the family pet, they saw it was stuck in the gears of the electric recliner.
Oh, okay, I see.
They had to dismantle part of the chair.
Can you hold this for me?
A little boy helped by shining a light on the situation. Then they went to work like surgeons to gently free the kitten.
Should just slide out.
Yep. There we go.
Oh! Loose! We got her. We got her.
Whew!
Its paw's stuck.
Oh, it is?
It's holding on with its claws.
A curious kitten got stuck between the tires of a semi-truck. The Ohio State Highway Patrol says a commercial truck driver noticed the cat during a pre-trip inspection. Troopers pitched in to help out.
If you lift it and it doesn't work, will you be willing to loosen the wheel?
Despite several attempts, the cat and its claws weren't budging.
Man, he really don't want to come out of there. Come on. Come on. All you gotta do is come out.
The humans resorted to pulling the kitten out of its dangerous position themselves.
Are we gonna take the whole wheel off now? Okay. There we go. There you go. Hold that.
The Ohio Highway Patrol said the rescue took perfect teamwork. Now this adventurous kitten is being looked after by an animal rescue.
We're ready to fix. I got the driver out.
A Texas police officer pulled a man in a burning Tesla to safety. Body camera video from the Colony Police Department shows the scene at about 1:30 in the morning. Officials say the Tesla hit a barricade and flipped over as it tried to exit a tollway. It became wedged between the wall that separates the northbound and southbound traffic, then caught on fire.
Stand back, I'm breaking your window.
Officer Eduardo Hernandez, who has only been on the force for 19 months, found a fire extinguisher was no match for the electric vehicle fire. He grabbed a tool to break the glass and free the trapped driver.
I'm breaking the window.
He let the frightened driver know what was happening the entire time.
I'm putting your airbag. Okay, there are cars on fire, man. Get out. I'm okay. Get out of the car. Get out.
The officer helped the driver out of the broken window.
Hey, I got the window open. Help me get him out. Come on. Anybody else inside? Okay, come on.
Officials say the driver was taken to the hospital and treated for his injuries. He is reportedly alert and recovering.
I got smoking conditions.
A police officer runs into a burning home to save a husband and wife trapped inside. This is video of the rescue in Evesham Township, New Jersey.
Get out!
First, he tells the woman to get out of the home.
I can't see anything.
Despite the smoky conditions and visibility,
He's trapped. I can't get in there. The smoke's too bad.
he continues to fight through it to rescue her husband.
Where you at?
First by grabbing a wheelchair in the way and then pulling him out.
Where you at, sir?
Firefighters arrived within 6 minutes and the fire was contained to the kitchen. The two residents and the officer were taken to the hospital, where the officer was treated for smoke inhalation. He was then honored by the department for his actions.
This little boy is being called a hero because he ran to get help after his mother had a medical emergency and drove into a pond. In this exclusive report, we go back to that pond with the little boy and his very proud mom.
He's the 12-year-old hero who earned national praise for saving his mother's life.
What's going on?
She's having a fever. She's sunk. She's in the water.
Mom was trapped in a submerged car. She drove right into a pond after suffering a seizure. Her quick-thinking son, Dwight Martin Jr., escaped and flagged down a cop.
Come on, hop in. I'll bring you over there. Okay, hop in.
His 16-year-old sister tried to pull Mom from the car, but couldn't. Good Samaritans jumped in with police to rescue Jonquetta Winbush.
Here, I got a punch.
They smashed the window with a glass breaker. When she's pulled from the water, she doesn't have a pulse. CPR brought her back to life.
I really don't remember
Today, 39-year-old Jonquetta Winbush has been released from the hospital. She and her brave son are speaking exclusively with Inside Edition. Mom now has to use a walker.
This is where it all happened. I could have been gone, but I'm still here.
Dwight recalls the moment his mom blacked out.
The car was swervy and it came straight ahead. It jumped on the grass right there and it crashed into the water.
He says the impact flung his door open.
And I swam out the car and I got over there to where the street is. And I ran all the way down that street to get the police officer that did CPR on my mom right here.
Mother and son, the unbreakable bond made all the more special by his heroic act.
She sunk! She's in the water! I love you, Mom. I'm happy you're here.
We're happy she's here too. By the way, a GoFundMe page has been set up to help with Miss Winbush's medical bills. We've got a link for you right at InsideEdition.com.
It's a popular lobster roll eating contest, and this contestant has a big prediction.
I'm shooting for at least 20. 20. Who thinks he can do 20?
That's 20 lobster rolls in just 10 minutes. And they're off, gobbling down lobster covered in mayo, sprinkled with celery, and wrapped in buns. But wait, is this guy choking? He's pounding his chest over and over.
I'm not sure if Christian's going to make it over here.
The MC thinks he's joking. But look, an eagle-eyed spectator sees the contestant really is choking. And if that Good Samaritan looks familiar, he should. Because he's New Hampshire's popular governor, Chris Sununu. After he performed the Heimlich, paramedics arrived to take over. Success! I spoke with that lucky guy today, Christian Moreno, who says he's a newcomer to eating contests.
So this is your first time?
My debut, yes.
Christian said he went into the contest feeling confident.
I said, I'm shooting for 20. And then 3 minutes later, I choked.
We can laugh about it now because you're okay. But what's frightening is that no one around you noticed that you were choking.
Yes.
I also spoke with Governor Sununu today.
No one else had seen it, really, so I figured there was no time like the moment, so I just jumped in.
Had you practiced the Heimlich before?
I guess I was lucky. I always paid attention in health class in high school. You know, it could be life or death. You kind of quickly think, am I doing this right?
Incredibly, after nearly choking to death, he just couldn't resist gobbling down more lobster rolls. So Christian continued the contest and ate 7 more. He says he had no idea that it was the governor who helped save his life until later when they playfully posed for photos.
I'm just happy that everyone went home safe, really.
No. No, no.
Relax. Tranquilo. No se preocupe, tranquilo. No se preocupe.
Two Hightstown police officers are being praised for saving a choking baby. They arrived on the scene and immediately began performing the infant Heimlich maneuver after seeing the baby in distress.
Tranquila. Can I stand back for a second?
There's nothing in there, Ken. She's clear.
Tranquila.
Hold her upside down. You're okay. She's okay. Yeah. I think there she goes. I think she's good.
Officers Daniel Abadamarco and Kenneth Larson reassured the family the whole time while making sure the baby was out of danger.
Let's let out a cry, sweetheart. There you go. There it is. That's it. You got it.
When paramedics came, they praised how the officers handled the situation.
I hear you did some CPR on that?
No, it's just obstruction in the just right between the shoulder blades. So I have to push her forward.
Oh, okay. How many? So backflip, kind of.
Yeah, it's like I had her down and in the back with 3 or 4.
Probably 4. There was like almost nothing until Kenny did the blows, and then it went down, and then that's when she started crying. So she did a good job.
The video of the March 31st incident was shared by the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office to highlight their body-worn camera wins program.
She's the quick-thinking hero nurse who saved a passenger having a widowmaker heart attack at the airport. The nurse was at the airport in Charlotte waiting to board her morning flight to Knoxville when she looked over and saw a man she believed was in distress. What exactly did you notice?
heard someone kind of making a snoring noise. I went over, checked for a pulse. He didn't have a pulse. We got some other guys around us to help get him on the ground, and we started CPR.
Wow. So you recognized right away when you heard the snoring and the breathing?
Yes, correct. I've heard it before, and it's normally indicative of a fast heart rhythm causing a cardiac arrest.
And here's the stricken man, 63-year-old Ken Jeffries.
Were you aware of what was going on?
No tingling, numbness, headaches, or anything of that nature. A little shortness of breath, but I'm thinking, okay, I'm just getting a little older, can't do things I normally do.
Jeffries was rushed to the hospital where he had emergency surgery to open an artery that was 80% blocked. His surgeon, Dr. William Downey.
Most people who this happens to die. This is sudden death. Ken was dead, and Claire pulled him back. Claire's CPR kept him alive.
Only 10% of people survive this. The Widowmaker's what they call it. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be talking here today. My kids and wife would have been attending a funeral.
We reunited Jeffries with quick-thinking nurse Claire Serby.
It's really good to know that you're doing so well and that you got great care.
Claire, and to all the other people that I did not get a chance to meet, thank you guys.
It's shocking video. An elderly man collapses in full cardiac arrest at an ATM. Exactly 15 seconds later, a woman arriving with her son for work sees him stricken on the floor. She rushes into her office and screams for help.
I immediately knew that through my office doors, I'd have access to some of the world's best nurses, and I ran inside and screamed for help.
Her colleague, Whitney Sinowitz, jumps into action.
When I heard Kaylee screaming for help, we ran it outside, checked for a pulse, which I didn't feel, and immediately started CPR.
Incredibly, the 83-year-old man is suffering the medical emergency next to an office filled with nurse practitioners who work for Northwell Health on Long Island.
We're kind of used to it in a hospital setting, but this was a little shocking, being in an office where we don't see patients.
Nurse Samantha Meglovich takes over the chest compressions.
I got down, on the floor with Whitney to help trade off CPR because it is tiring.
Nurse Christina Farrell.
I ran into the office and grabbed the defibrillator, which was luckily in one of the rooms closest to the door.
She delivers an electric shock to his heart in hopes of restoring the heartbeat. Within minutes, the patient has an entire team of nurses and hospital administrators working to save his life.
I have an ER background. I just switched off with the girls when they needed.
They revive him as paramedics arrive. These heroes believe it's a miracle that they were there at the right place and right time.
He didn't have a pulse, so if no one found him, he would have died.
Thank you.
And here's Daniel Greco today, hugging the team of angels who saved his life. He spoke along with his wife Bonnie of 55 years at Plainview Hospital, where he's recovering from triple bypass heart surgery.
It's a miracle.
I see it, and I still don't believe it. I don't know how you could thank people that saved your life.
It was so wonderful to see him, to hug him and meet him for the first time.
Whoa, Nellie!
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
An American on vacation in Panama goes for a horseback ride. It's not what she expected. Hi-ho, Silver, away!
Hey, buddy.
It's an unusual call, but corralling cattle these days seems to be caught on camera more frequently.
She needs to go up there and block it in.
The latest taking place in Akron, Ohio.
Hey, girl. What are you doing?
This one on the side of a road. Multiple police officers, along with the fire department, were called to wrangle in the brown cow. It seems like it was a big team effort to bring her in. The cow, with the tag number of 226 attached, had fallen off a trailer on the highway during rush hour traffic. Clearly, the cow was in no rush. But she did skid her knees on the ground for about 100 feet, according to someone who saw her fall. The ordeal to safely collect the cow was all recorded on body camera video. Eventually, she was picked up and taken into care by an animal rehab group, where she's getting plenty of water and hay.
It took less than 30 minutes for a police canine to find a missing woman.
You ready to go to work? I was ready to go to work.
Body camera video from Georgia's Johns Creek Police Department shows officers starting the search for the 73-year-old.
So I'm going to try my hound. I'm going to let her hit the scent article and see where she goes.
Officers put a canine named Pandora on the hunt.
Get to work.
Officials say the woman they were searching for had diminished mental health. She left her daughter's house, which was in an area she was unfamiliar with, around 5:30 in the morning.
Is that somebody down there? White hair. Oh, good girl. Good girl. I think that's her, dude. Yep, blue sleeve shirt. Come on, girl.
In just 22 minutes, Pandora's sensitive nose located the missing woman.
Ah, Pandora! Yay!
As a reward, Pandora was given a toy filled with treats.
Pandora! Ah, what's that? What's that? What's that? Oh, good girl. Here. Get it. Yay!
And Pandora got a few pats from the woman whose scent she had picked up on.
You like doggies? You like dogs? This is Pandora. Would you like to pet her? Here, baby.
The woman was found safely, and in the end, Canine Officer Pandora got all the credit.
Hey, I'm just a dummy at the end of the leash when it comes to tracking, man.
Rescuing raccoons with jars on their head isn't the typical call Long Island Cat Kitten Solution receives, but they still saved the day.
Baby? Yeah, it's a young one.
The organization assisted when a cute but feisty kit needed freeing.
You need oil or something? Yeah, do you have anything I can soften the...
Go get the olive oil. The raccoon tried to get away, but the employee had quick hands.
Hang on. I don't want to lose him.
After oil and some patience, the raccoon was loose. They recently had a similar rescue with a cat who also got caught with a jar on its head for several days.
Oh, he got it, yes.
It was eventually saved as well. Long Island Cat Kitten Solution says it's important to wash out or crush jars before discarding them. That way, hungry wildlife won't be as tempted to stick their heads in them for food. This is Inside Edition Digital.
A stranded thrill seeker is desperate, so he lays out a bunch of rocks in the sand, spelling out the word help. It's like a scene straight out of the Tom Hanks movie Castaway. But this did not take place on some remote island in the South Pacific. It happened on a beach in breathtaking Central California. The dude was trapped there by the towering cliff. There was nowhere to go but up. That help message was heeded. Watch as a firefighter is lowered by helicopter. After being secured to the tether, the rescuers lift him to safety in a perfect landing above the cliff.
For us, the high winds that we had at the time may have been, a little challenging, but with our aircraft really handles that kind of wind very well.
It turns out the rescued man was windsurfing like these ocean-loving acrobats when he ended up on the beach with no way out except for a pile of rocks that spelled help. He's the victim of the latest shark attack, father of 3 Caleb Adams.
You could hear that it's almost like a blood-curdling scream.
Kevin Barrett was in the ocean when he heard his buddy screaming for dear life. They're part of a group of friends who swim several times a week in Del Mar outside San Diego.
I turned to Cameron and I said, let's go.
Without thinking twice, they dived right in.
The option to not do anything was worse than the option of putting yourself at risk and going out there.
They found the victim bleeding profusely from his chest and hand.
I think he was trying to fight it off. So he even said he had the shark nose in his hands, and then he punched it. I mean, he said he punched this thing twice.
Cameron Whiting's training as a lifeguard kicked in.
When I saw how bad it was for the first time, I realized I don't want him to see this, and so I just tried to cover up with my hand so that he wouldn't look down.
Once we could tell it was a shark bite, yeah, it was so scary.
The swimmers brought Caleb back on a surfboard and applied pressure to the wounds until an ambulance arrived.
I'm shocked in the sense that this is like a terrible accident and tragedy, but I'm not surprised at how everyone stepped to.
Today, despite the nightmare that unfolded just 2 days ago, They are all going back into the ocean for their swim. There they are, back in the water, but with a difference. They've made a pact to swim closer to each other, and this time with one person on a surfboard to keep watch for any signs of danger.
This beautiful 15-year-old is now in the fight of her life after a horrific shark attack. The teen from Aspen, Colorado was on a dive trip with her family on Tuesday in the gorgeous waters of Belize when she suffered the gruesome attack. Annabelle Carlson had just completed the dive on a popular tour. Her family says she took off her scuba gear and jumped back into the water for a swim when the shark ferociously tore into her right leg. It was a very aggressive, very traumatic, terror-filled fight for her life. She was able to fight off the attack as best she could, but was critically injured in the fight, a family friend posted. The high school student who ended up losing her leg was airlifted to a local trauma center, then flown back to the U.S. In Annabelle's case, something went terribly wrong. I spoke to wildlife biologist and Shark Week host Forrest Galante. What would make a shark attack suddenly?
Likely that jumping motion, that jumping back in the water spurred something like the splashing and the thrashing that happens from legs kicking. It was a case of mistaken identity where the shark came up and went, ooh, this might be food, took a bite, and then sure enough, it resulted in a pretty negative instance.
Videos on social media show 15-year-old Annabelle as a fun-loving teen. Incredibly, a friend tells Inside Edition today that she's in great spirits despite her harrowing shark attack.
Heroes to the rescue. Without a moment of hesitation, two guys, total strangers, leap into the subway tracks in New York City to save an unconscious man who has just fallen off the platform.
Quickly, quickly!
Jordan Cannon is a tourist from Las Vegas. He and the other Good Samaritan lift the stricken passenger up to the subway platform.
It felt like lifting up just a dead, limp body.
Now look, as soon as he knew the guy was safe, he runs back to the other side and resumes waiting for his subway to arrive. Turns out Jordan Cannon was not fully aware of the risk he faced. New Yorkers know all about the third rail. It can electrocute anyone who touches it. Cannon walked right over the third rail multiple times, not knowing of the dangerous voltage right under his feet. One thing you did not take into consideration is the third rail, which you came inches away from.
To be honest, in hindsight now, that makes me feel really stupid and a little embarrassed.
Cannon had no problem lifting the injured man, probably because of the upper body strength he's developed as a professional rock climber. If he's not afraid of something like this, a rescue in the New York subway must seem like a breeze.
In rock climbing, one, you learn how to assess risk. I jump down and climb up onto ledges like that all the time.
Cannon was in New York celebrating his 30th birthday. He was on his way to a Broadway show and is now back home.
Quickly!
He may not be a New Yorker, but after those heroics, he's welcome back anytime.
Good job, good job.
A kitten was saved thanks to a trucker and a cop.
I just found a baby kitten in the middle of 441.
Cars whiz past, not noticing the tiny bundle of fur in the middle of the road. Florida's Alachua County Police Department says a truck driver helped to stop the traffic on a highway in order to keep the helpless feline from disaster. Body camera shows an officer walking down the road and scooping up the black and white kitten before radioing in about his adorable find.
I just found a baby kitten in the middle of 441.
After being removed from danger, the kitten went on another adventure, a ride in a police cruiser. According to authorities, the sweet kitten has decided to join the force. The little cat has found a forever home in the family of one of the police dispatchers. Two dogs struggled in the Nevada heat until a compassionate police officer came along.
You know whose vehicle this is? Okay, well, they left two animals inside, so I'm gonna have to start breaking windows if no one else knows whose it is.
A Las Vegas Metropolitan Police officer noticed two dogs tethered in the back seat of a minivan.
No one knows whose vehicle this is. It's in the parking. Since the window's cracked a little bit, I'm going to try and push the window down. But the dogs are panting. One of them is on the ground, unknown. She isn't panting in distress.
With her hands, the officer tried to force the barely cracked window further down.
Hi, babies. Hold on.
When that didn't work, she grabbed a crowbar and shattered the window. Despite the vehicle's alarm going off and broken glass on the seat and floor, the officer coaxed the hot animals out. Police say the air temperature at the time was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the interior of the van was topping 110 degrees. The little dogs were taken for medical treatment and then to a shelter. The pet owners are under investigation.
It's a race against the clock. Fast-moving floodwaters threatening to sweep away an elderly woman trapped in her SUV. You actually see her driving along, then suddenly veering off into swirling water. It happened in Manatee County, Florida, where the remnants of Hurricane Debbie are still wreaking havoc. As luck would have it, county workers were in the area doing storm damage assessment and spotted the woman's stalled vehicle with the water quickly rising.
We have a SUV that got swept off of golf course into Gamble Creek. It's swift water, man.
Good Samaritans jumped in to help pull the woman through the driver's side window. Then they wade through the floodwaters and get the woman into a pickup truck just in the nick of time. Manatee County Commissioner Kevin Van Ostenbridge helped bring the victim to safety.
She was so fortunate that we were standing right there watching when this happened.
And this Good Samaritan is trudging through floodwaters looking for people who may need help. Get this, he's an Army veteran who traveled from North Carolina to Charleston, South Carolina to help.
And I'm gonna show y'all how high this water is, man. All right, I'm 6'1". We got about 2.5 feet.
What is your mission?
Our mission is to make sure that we have absolutely 0 persons stranded in water.
As he made his way through this neighborhood,
hey, how you doing?
He stopped to make sure residents were okay.
We head out and we start going down side streets and low-lying areas. We door knock. We might see people stranded on porches.
Powerful stories that change the way you think. Impactful investigations that change the way you see.
How many times has your car been stolen?
5 times. Yeah.
What? Do you think that you're a responsible owner of tigers?
I damn sure do.
Heartwarming moments that change the way you feel.
I feel amazing.
Now available in a place that changes the way you watch TV. Inside Edition, streaming.